so happy that you decided to join us. It's every Wednesday, 11 o'clock on your favorite and mine, In Touch News. And I'm Angela Birdsong. And, during the week, what I do is I'm the Medicare lady. I help people successfully age on to Medicare, help some people with Medicaid, too, and, of course, life insurance. Now, but my favorite thing to do is talk about politics. And I'm so happy because in the studio today, we have with us a lady who's a mover and a shaker in the community. Her name is Clara Reynolds, and she heads up the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay. Thank you, Clara, for coming.
Good morning. It is such an honor to be here. Thank you so much for the gracious invitation. I do appreciate it very much.
Well, you know what? We need to know about you. And we need to know about all the things that you do because they're important. Now, I always start at the beginning, though. Where were you born?
So I am a Tampa native. I
Really?
was born St. Joseph's Hospital, born and raised. Spent my entire childhood here. I left to go to school up in Tallahassee. I'm a Florida State Seminole. Got my undergraduate.
But wait a minute. Where'd you go to? Where was your grade school?
So I went to the Academy of the Holy Names, and then I went to
That's
Wilson.
important.
I went to Wilson Middle School. And then I graduated from Plant High School in 1988. Go Panthers.
Wow.
And then left home for the very first time and went to Florida State University. I got an undergraduate degree in child psychology and then continued on to get a master's degree in social work and was able to then come right back home and be back in my community as a social worker.
Wow.
And I've spent my entire career in this field. So since 1993, I've been working with a variety of different populations. I started off working as a child abuse investigator for the Department of Children and Families up in Tallahassee. And then when I came back home, worked my very first job within the Hillsborough County Public School System, working at an elementary school called Kenley, which still exists today, right near the Seminole Hard Rock Casino. I moved
right in the heart of Tampa.
Right in the
Okay.
heart of Tampa, and then moved from there to working with within the juvenile justice system. I was a school social worker for all the juvenile justice programs, and back in the mid-'90s, I think you ladies probably know, we had a lot of juvenile justice programs here in this community. So I oversaw 13 of them as the school social worker and got to see really what happens to little people and older teens. We had, at that point, we were incarcerating children as young as 7.
Oh, my gosh. What do you do with a 7-year-old?
Yeah, it was very interesting what we had to do with what I got to observe with 7-year-olds and looking at the education needs
But
of 7-year-olds.
I'm really curious, though. If you pick up a minor that's 7 or 8 or 9 years old, where do you take them? What happens to them?
So back in the 90s, depending upon the crime, and at that point, some of these young people were caught up in a variety of situations. Most of them had experienced unbelievable trauma that had never been at home in the community, had never been resolved. Lots of gangs, lots of drug running. And so you had little people that were mules, for lack of a better word, and they were the ones
they
that
were
got
actually involved in drug running at that age.
They were, but they were oftentimes, they didn't even realize what was happening. They were so young.
Right.
And so we had what was known as Junior Shop, the Junior Serious Habitual Offenders Program at the Falkenberg Jail. And so these very young children.
So 7-year-olds were going to Falkenberg
Yeah,
Road?
7 to 12 was the age range that I got to see. And for me, it was a real turning point to see trauma untreated. What happens to children and to families that are exposed over and over and over again to unbelievable challenges and situations, and how resilient these young children are, how resilient these families are. And, my career continued. I moved from there to working with children with severe emotional and behavioral challenges, children that were placed in psychiatric hospitals because their behavior was so intense. And lo and behold.
And that was 7-year-olds too, 7 to 12?
Oh, little kids, big kids, usually older kids, though, Angela, to be honest with you, kids around the age of 10, 11, 12, up until about age 17. Families didn't know how to handle them. Schools, communities didn't know what to do with them, so we would send them away, spend lots of money to send these kids
Now,
away.
Away? Where's away?
Treatment facilities all across the state.
I see. Okay.
And then these kids would have to come back, and they would come back, and nothing really would change. They may have developed some skills, but they came back home and they still needed help and support. And I was very fortunate to be able to create a nonprofit organization in 2005 that helped to address some of these issues with these families. And that's what led me to the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay.
Wow. I mean, that is a stunning background. You know, now the thing is, you worked with these young people who were exhibiting these these problems, and we're still seeing it today. We're seeing the police office have arresting 9-year-olds, and I'm like, how do you do that, and where the kids end up? Did you see these? Did you have any success stories? How they were able to turn the children around?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's why we're in this business. All of us are in this business, is to see those success stories and to see, and it's from those experiences that I have to applaud, what is happening across our country right now, and really locally, looking at what we're trying to do to reduce those arrest rates for young children,
Yes.
civil citations, for instance, many diversion types of programs to try and correct and prevent, the future criminal activities that oftentimes can happen if some additional resources and supports aren't coming
While
in.
they're young.
Exactly,
Yes.
while they're young and with their families. Again, I truly believe these kids and these families are doing the very, very best that they absolutely can.
Mm-hmm.
And as a clinician, as a social worker, my job is to honor these amazing skill sets and offer some additional ones. Honoring the skill sets that have made these families successful and allowed them to thrive in the environments that they're in, and then offering them other skill sets and other resources so that they can thrive outside of their home environments.
Now, I hate to ask, have you ever advised that the child be taken out of the home?
Unfortunately, I have been in those situations where everybody needed a break. Conditions were so dangerous in those homes that even a child that may not recognize that they're in danger, when you walk into a situation and it's clear that a child is needs help and support, that the family needs help and support.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that is.
And if you need help, it's hard to give people help.
It
Someone else help.
sometimes is. It sometimes is, particularly when you're that far down the road. You may have been asking for help in all sorts of ways, and providers like myself just didn't hear you.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't ask for the ways in which I understand, and that's my problem, and I have to figure it out, again, as a provider, how to provide better services and supports. But when you get to that place, sometimes there really isn't any other option to keep a family safe, not just the kid, but also the parents as well. So certainly, unfortunately, I have seen that happen, but I have seen what happens in other situations, in other situations where services were brought in. It was at a crisis moment. Everybody was ready. They were ready to take services, and you can just watch the entire family really be able to be healed. And that's what we're talking about, is recognizing that trauma that has been experienced doesn't go away.
Okay.
Trauma untreated doesn't go away. It manifests itself in a whole lot of other ways.
Kicking the cat.
Oh, absolutely. It's a great way of putting it. And so that is I think from a professional perspective of being a social worker, and I'm going to now speak for all of the providers in our community that are working so hard every day, is really trying to provide as many resources and supports in a way that makes sense for families, but also having to work, as you know, within the political system,
That's
within the
right.
funding that's available. And sometimes I go from being a social worker to being a magician to being a quilter, trying to bring all of these funding sources together so that a family can just, at the end of the day, get what they need, and the resources
Now,
and supports.
tell me, how do you feel about the school to prison pipeline?
I would love to say that I don't believe in it. I would love to say that in my time, particularly in the 90s, where we worked pegging or targeting third grade reading scores as the moment to know if a kid couldn't read by third grade, that at that point that there were so many negative outcomes from that one metric. And I do know that again, I can speak for the 90s, that we were looking at what prison was going to look like based upon third grade reading. I think we all know that there are a lot of reasons why children can't read. There's a lot of things in place. And again, I'm going to be beating this drum all day, Angela, so forgive me, but a lot of it has to do with untreated trauma. When a kiddo's brain is so busy thinking about all of the other things going on, being able to receive that instruction can be so very difficult. And you and I were talking before this. I had an opportunity to go back to Kenley just a few weeks ago and actually see in action how teachers are trying to teach. And in this COVID environment, how difficult it is with kids at home as well as kids at school, because they're bringing
so you have this dual
everything
learning going on in the classroom.
The synchronistic learning is the word that they use, and I almost call it, schizophrenic
kids at home,
learning
on Zoom.
Exactly.
And kids in person in the classroom.
Right.
And this is so hard on the teacher.
So hard on the teacher, so hard on the families.
And so hard on the children.
Oh, my goodness. I got to watch a 4-year-old go through pre-K, a pre-K lesson. And so it was a 30-minute one-on-one with the teacher. And so the teacher singing and trying to get the child to respond. The parent is literally sitting right next to the child, and the child is like all over the place. So I can only imagine what we're going to look like as a society in 2, 3, 4 years, the learning gains that have not been made.
There's a year gap.
Huge gap. And so I think we're going to have, again, I'm speaking from the behavioral health perspective, but I think we're going to need a lot more resources and supports to help these children, help these families moving forward.
Wow. Now, we have a lot of children that once COVID happened and they were no longer in school, they kind of got lost in the atmosphere. And I don't know if you've run into any of those children, but some of them are homeless because the families are homeless.
Right. And I know that the Hillsborough County Public School System has an amazing homeless resource program, and they've been working really hard with the Children's Board of Hillsborough County to try to find solutions for those families. But we also know that there are still families living in cars. Yes. We also know there's still families living in motels on short-term stays. And that, unfortunately, is going to be more of our reality moving forward. Angela, as you and I were talking, we were talking about the rent moratoriums that are in place. And you enlightened me on what that looks like in reality. So we're a year into this pandemic. Many individuals are up for their leases. Their leases are up, and their landlords aren't renewing their leases because they haven't been able to pay or for whatever reason. And so we're going to start seeing more and more families in these economically challenging times, and they're going to need a lot of help and support. And that's why I'm so glad that you've given me this opportunity to be able to talk about what is available for families, what is available in our community, and a resource that has been around for over 49 years.
Now, I do want to know, how did Clara get to the crisis center?
So Clara, when I was actually a board member at the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay very early in my career. Okay. I was a clinician, and so in 1994, I was asked to join the board, and so I became a board member, and I stayed on the board until 2002. And then when I left was when I was getting ready to open Success for Kids and Families, which is the nonprofit organization that I helped to found with another amazing man, John Mayo, who just recently retired. And so I was at Success for Kids and Families for 10 years. And it was time for success. Success needed a change. Clara needed a change. And the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay had a CEO opening, and it was a wonderful opportunity for me professionally, because I had always been in this deeper end of the service system. I was always working with children and families that had experienced, again, my word of the day, trauma, and I was helping them after the fact. The beautiful thing at the Crisis Centers, our mission is to ensure no one has to face crisis alone. And so I get to be at the forefront of somebody's crisis. And if we do a good job at the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay, not only are you going to get help and resources and supports, but you're going to be able to move forward from your trauma and not have that trauma stay with you and dictate the decisions you're going to make throughout the rest of your life.
Now, it would be very amiss of me if I don't say that you are the lady behind 211.
211, the favorite three numbers that everyone should know. I know we all know 911, but 211 is such an important number, and I can't wait to talk more in detail about that.
Yep, we're going to go to break because it's so vast with all the services behind 211. But just know, if you're in crisis right now, dial the number. And we'll be right back.
Love being number one. When your team's dominating the standings, or your favorite band rocks the charts at number one, it feels good, right? Kind of like how it feels when you have auto insurance with State Farm. Because making you feel like number one is an honor your local State Farm agent takes seriously. Through the good times and not so good, your State Farm agent's proud to be here to help life go right.
Call Herman White at 961-6661. That's 961-6661.
Call in and tell a friend to listen in. Listen up. It's In Touch Radio, reality radio.
We're back, and you're listening to Tampa Bay Politics. I'm Angela Birdsong, your host, and in the studio we have Clara Reynolds. It's so exciting. She is with the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay, and we were just talking about that number that everyone should know. It's 211. If you have any kind of crisis going on in your life, they've got someone there to assist you. And let's talk about all the things all the assistance a person can get over there at the Crisis Center.
The Crisis Center of Tampa Bay is truly an incredible resource, an incredible gem in our community, and so many people have no idea that we exist. So again, thank you so much for this opportunity to just talk a little bit about all the great services and resources that are available, because everybody who is watching or listening right now can reach out for help anytime that they need it. So when I think about the Crisis Center, I told you guys my mission, but I'm going to say it again. Our mission is to ensure that no one in our community has to face crisis alone. Now, that word crisis can sometimes make people really uncomfortable and nervous, and they're like, I'm not in a crisis. Let's define what crisis is.
Okay.
Crisis is just somebody who has a life's problem that needs a solution. You just need help finding a solution to a problem in your life. All of us experience crises of some sort, and many times we have family members, we have friends, we have faith leaders, we have schools, we have places to help meet those needs. But there's many of us out there that don't.
That's right. And rich or poor.
Rich
Crisis
or
can
poor.
find you.
Absolutely. It doesn't matter your zip code or your area code. It can find you. And so 211 is that number, is that gateway, if you will. We call it our community's gateway to help, hope, and healing. So if you remember nothing else that I say today, everybody, please remember 211. So if you can remember 211 and call that number 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you will be connected to somebody whose number one job.
Even in the middle of the night.
Even in the middle of the night. Their number one job is to give you a chance just to be heard.
Now, what about the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline?
Thank you for bringing that up. So we partner with the National Suicide Prevention Helpline. That number is 1-800-273-TALK or 1-800-273-8258. So sorry. And we partner with them. And so
or
if somebody,
211.
Or 211, you can
Okay.
call either number. And if you are contemplating suicide, you're thinking about suicide, you have already maybe made an attempt, and you don't want to call 911, you can call 211. And we are trained to be able to provide help, assistance, and resources. And I will tell you, every single day, between 10 and 15 people right here in Hillsborough County call that line and reach out to the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay for help.
Unfortunately, this show was touched by suicide. I'm not sure if you knew that, but my co-host did commit suicide. So,
and
my
heart goes out to you all.
Yes, and we did not see we didn't see it coming. We did not. I mean, looking back, you can see she wasn't happy, but I just didn't think she would take that route.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Mary Gerasi. What if someone you know or you suspect the person is thinking about it?
You know, one of the things, if you've got that niggling in your tummy that's telling you that something's not right, it's so important to ask the question. There's a myth out there that if you say the word suicide or you ask somebody if they're suicidal, that's going to somehow plant an idea in their brain. Mm-hmm. Let that myth go. Make a fist and let that myth go. It is absolutely not the case. What you're doing is, one, recognizing that somebody is in need.
Yes.
And you're acknowledging somebody's in need, and you're using that word suicide, which tells me you're not freaked out by it, you're not uncomfortable by it, and I can talk to you. That is the beauty of it. And even if, as the recipient, if I'm the one asking the question and I'm not really sure what to do, I can just be a resource. I can be a support. And together, we can call 211. together we can call the National Suicide Prevention Helpline, so
Okay.
that together as a duo, you can do that together and provide that support to that individual, help them get the resources that they need from a trained professional, so you don't have to take that burden yourself. The only thing you need to do is just reach out, ask the question, and be available to help that individual make that phone call. It's a lifesaver. It
Now,
absolutely
you said
is.
that this is a partnership, so you have people actually assisting you from the National Suicide Prevention?
So in every community, the National Suicide Prevention Helpline partners with call centers across the
I
country.
see.
We are
Okay.
that partner here in Hillsborough County.
Okay.
Nobody else answers those calls here in Hillsborough County except the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay.
I see. Now, what about the Florida Veteran Support Line? What are you helping veterans with?
So we had veterans that were calling us back in, 2013, 2014, and they were, saying, expressing some needs, and then they would
Homelessness?
ask homelessness, legal assistance,
Okay.
sometimes custody issues, maybe issues with benefits, things like that. And when they would say, well, Clara, where did you serve? What branch of the military are you from? And I would say, I am, thank you for your service, but I've never served. They would thank me, and then they would hang up.
Oh,
We knew we were
really?
missing this population. And we also knew that 20 to 22 vets were dying every single day by suicide. So
And they want to talk to a vet.
Exactly. They don't want to talk to Clara. They don't care that I'm a licensed clinician. I don't know from where they've walked. And so
Right.
we partnered with the Florida legislature to try out this model of having veteran peers. And peer, that word peer is so important. It's not just somebody who served. It's somebody who served who had difficulty transitioning from military life to civilian life. They've walked in those footsteps. They have been in those places, and they've come out on the other side.
I see.
So not only is it instant rapport, it is also a model of, if I just stick with it, I can get to the other side too. And so over the past 6 years, we have been incredibly successful to the point that we now have the Veteran Support Line statewide with veteran peers all across the state. So from Pensacola to Key West to Jacksonville, no matter where you are, if you're a veteran or a family member, you could call our Veteran Support Line, and that's 1-844-MY-FL-VET. Again, 24 hours a day,
or
7 days a week.
211.
Or 211, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you'll be connected to a veteran that can help you on that path. And we define a veteran as anyone who served. Doesn't matter how your service went. The fact that you served at some point in your life makes you, in our eyes, a veteran, and we want to help you and your family.
You went through basic training, you're good.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Okay, what about COVID helpline?
Yes.
That's something new.
Yes, and we started seeing calls to our 211 center right around February 29th last year with this thing like, what is COVID? I don't know what this thing is. And we had about 13 calls. Fast forward 30 days, those numbers jumped up into the hundreds, and people were looking
Wow.
for resources. The economic pinch was starting to happen. Families were looking for help. So the Department of Children and Families said, we need to provide a specialized line just for that service. And so that phone number is 844-MY-FL-HELP. Again, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it is a statewide number that has specific COVID-specific resources available to it.
Or
So-
you could call into 211.
or you could always call into 211
and
here
they
in
would
Hillsborough County.
direct you to any of these lines.
Absolutely.
Now, the thing is, COVID is so broad. What are people calling in? Are they evicted? Are they homeless? Are they hungry?
Yeah, so the top two reasons people are calling, number one is economic concern. We can all understand that. And when we talk about economic concern, it is rent, utilities, food, basic needs. But the number two is emotional support. And
Okay,
I think
mental health.
Mental health. And I think one of the things that we are seeing in COVID-19 is that it has certainly had a physical toll. We all know that. But it has had a significant mental health toll as well. And for the very first time, people are finding themselves isolated and alone.
Yes.
And, there's a reason why solitary confinement is the worst form of punishment that we can give to a prisoner.
Yes.
Human beings
Yes.
weren't meant to be isolated. We weren't meant to be alone.
We are social creatures.
We are absolutely social creatures. And when we don't get that socialization, we have problems. And so if you already had a mental health issue, COVID has exacerbated it. But more importantly, or as important, I want to say, please forgive my misspeak, is that if you've never experienced it, you are probably experiencing it for the very first time.
Especially if you have children in the house.
Oh, especially if you have children in the house or elders in your home, you know. So we recognized that calls to 211 that used to take about 7 minutes were now taking 15 to 20 minutes because there was so much to unpack. When somebody finally got a chance just to unload everything that was happening for them, they needed some time. They needed to be heard to really get from all these symptoms to the actual problem. And that's what makes 211 different from Google. You could Google rent assistance, you could Google homelessness, but in the case of people that have called us, they may call us for rent needs, but when you unpeel that onion, you figure out what that problem is. It may start off that I need help with my rent. We can do that. Tell me what's happening.
Yeah, why can't you pay your rent?
Right. I lost my job. Why? Because I've been drinking every day for the past 2 weeks. Tell me more about that. I'm reliving the trauma of when I was raped 4 weeks ago.
Oh, my gosh.
You can see where the problem is not the rent assistance. That is the symptom.
That's
the
true.
The problem is the trauma from being raped 4 weeks ago and not getting any help and support.
Yes.
If we don't get to the root of a problem, we're Band-Aiding everything else. And that's the difference between what we can do and Google. So call 211.
Wow. Now, can you tell people out there some of the things that you're able to assist them with? I mean, if they call you, can you help them with rental assistance or food or shelter, anything?
So 211, by its very definition, is designed to be the clearinghouse of all the social services that are available in a community. And by contract, most providers of service have to register their resources with 211. It's a contract requirement. So we have a database of resources and services. Currently, we have over 1,500 different independent organizations of about 3,000 different programs. Those programs come and go. Certainly, we all know that. And particularly during COVID, when we were at the height of COVID, we were getting daily updates of what's available in this community, what's available in this zip code. And so we still manage all of those resources. So when you call us, we're going to ask you some questions. You can be as anonymous as you want to be. You don't have to give us your name. You don't have to give us your address. But we are going to ask those questions. And if you choose to give us that information, we can then connect you with the resources that are right for you, available in your location, in the language of your choice.
Really? You have different languages available?
Absolutely, because we've got resources in multiple languages in our community.
Okay.
So we are able to connect to the best of our ability your issue with the resources that are available, again, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Now, if someone is looking for employment, can you help them?
Sure. We can help them. We can help direct them to where those employment opportunities are. Obviously, we all know CareerSource, but there are many other different types of resources out there. And so we can connect you. And we're not just going to give you one. We'll give you several of them. The other thing that we can do, too, is particularly for our callers who are suicidal, sometimes just giving you some resources isn't enough. You need some additional help and support. So we provide this process called care coordination. And that is somebody who's going to call you every day, every couple of days to make sure.
That's huge.
To make sure
need that too.
Well, absolutely. And making sure, because sometimes it can take a little while to get into resources. You and I were talking about that before. It can take several weeks to get into resources. So we will continue to walk with you in your journey to connect you to resources and supports.
Wonderful. Okay, so the only number they have to remember is 211.
Yes, ma'am. 211. That's your number today.
First responder line.
Yeah. So we know our first responders have really experienced a lot during this COVID time, and defining first responders as law enforcement, our firefighters, our emergency medical technicians, our ER workers. They are working tremendous hours. They are seeing some of the worst things right now that they could possibly imagine.
Absolutely.
So we have a special line just for them where they can, again, just talk and bare their soul to someone who's not required to report it to their supervisor or to a board or anywhere. It's just an opportunity for them to vent and to breathe.
Wow, that is wonderful. I think you're going to save a lot of careers like that because they need to talk to somebody.
More first responders die by suicide than in the line of duty.
Oh, my gosh. We had 2 of them that died after January 6th.
Yes.
All right. Well, believe it or not, it's break time again.
Such a fast time,
It's
Angela.
fast. We're halfway there.
Hello, Kubo. What have you got planned for today?
Come on, this way.
Adventure can be found anywhere, but the best place to start is in the forest.
It's the most powerful magic there is.
Head outside to discover incredible animals
Wow.
and beautiful plants that come together to create an unforgettable adventure. So grab your loved ones and explore a world of possibilities. Visit discovertheforest.org to find the closest forest or park to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the U.S. Forest Service.
My teacher said that we should have a plan in case of an emergency. Do we have one?
First thing I'm gonna do is grab a flashlight with dead batteries.
I'm going to start randomly throwing clothes in the bag. You two will be hiding in the closet and Dad won't be able to find you.
And that's when we both start crying.
Uncontrollably. Can you pass the cutlets?
Winging it is not an emergency plan. Make sure your kids know what to do during an emergency, who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Search Ready Kids at nyc.gov or call 311. Brought to you by the New York City Office of Emergency Management and the Ad Council.
In Touch Radio.
This is Joel Sylvain
And Kevin Carr.
and we're with Power Moves, where celebrities, athletes, key influential executives
influencers,
share how they make money, how they attract power, and how they earn respect. Come join us every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Power Moves.
On In Touch Radio.
We're back. You're listening to Tampa Bay Politics on In Touch News. Our guest today is Clara Reynolds of the Tampa Bay Crisis Center, or I should say the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay, just to be correct. Also known as the 211 that you can call if you are in crisis. Now, we already went over the National Suicide Prevention Line, the Florida Veteran Support Line, COVID Helpline, First Responder Line, and there's still something else. There's Florida Substance Abuse Line connected to 211.
Right. And so every state is required by the federal government to have a substance abuse line. So we answer that line for the state of Florida. That number is 1-800-662-HELP. Again, available 24 hours a day, or you can call
211.
Atta girl, Angela. So you can call either number and be able to get connected to resources. We know right now that we are facing unparalleled struggles and stress and strife. And many individuals have called us because they've been clean and sober for many, many years, but the stress of the pandemic has resulted in them relapsing, and they're looking for resources.
This is alcohol,
This
drugs.
is alcohol, this is opioids, this is methamphetamine, this is cocaine, all the cocktail, if you will. And so we keep, for the state of Florida, all of those resources. And so we're able to get you connected to treatment when you're ready for it. So that's an important one to remember, particularly for family members and loved ones, because they may know that their loved one is struggling. They may be seeing it happen right in front of their eyes and just didn't know where to go. You can call 211 and we can connect you to those resources.
And of course, the opioid issue is huge.
Huge. Unfortunately, huge.
Yes. Are you seeing a lot in Hillsborough County?
Not seeing as much in Hillsborough County, but certainly up in Pasco County, Polk County, it's very, very significant. Pinellas is starting to pop, so we know it's just a matter of time.
But you are answering calls for the entire state.
The entire state of Florida, yes, ma'am.
Are you seeing other counties?
Other counties are starting to really pick up, and it's a mix between methamphetamine and opioids. And when we talk about opioids, we're really talking about heroin, but more specifically fentanyl. Fentanyl is being used everywhere to cut almost everything, and so those overdoses are happening really much more often than any of us would like to imagine.
You know what? I worked for Bankers Life, and unfortunately, we had a client who was given fentanyl in a drink in a bar and passed away.
It is deadly, deadly stuff, and it is definitely something that you don't know what you're going to get.
Right.
So just keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. You don't know what you're going to get.
That's right. Are you helping at all with the human trafficking problem?
We are. Thank you for asking. So, as part of Super Bowl 55, we were able to partner with the county commission. Kimberly Overman specifically was a real champion in bringing some additional human trafficking resources to our community, and we have what we call a care coordinator, but an individual who is specially trained to work with human trafficking victims. I will tell you, the week of the Super Bowl, right after the Super Bowl, I think we got probably about a dozen human trafficking victims that came to the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay. One of the things we haven't talked about that we provide in the community is we are the community certified rape crisis center. So when somebody over the age of 13 is raped in Hillsborough County, they don't go to ERs, they come to us.
Oh,
because a rape, unfortunately, is not considered a medical emergency. It's not like a heart attack or stroke or a gunshot.
It's a trauma.
It's a trauma that needs to be addressed quickly and with as much care and compassion as possible. So at our location, which is at Bears in Florida, we have a clinic that's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we see about a rape victim every single day.
I see. And the police bring them there.
Police can bring them there. They can come in by themselves. They can come in with their family members. If they're over the age of 18, they don't even have to report this if they don't want to. And there's many, many reasons why both men and women don't feel comfortable reporting this crime. So we will provide them with what is known as the rape exam, but we'll also provide them with a lot of support. And we're a full-service clinic, so we can provide everything that they need there. In addition, we have brand new clothing that we can provide for that individual, because we oftentimes have to take the clothing as evidence. We have a shower with toiletries that have been graciously donated by our community, and you can take those with you. You walk in as a victim, you walk out as a survivor. And that's what we're really, really proud of. And we will continue walking with you on this journey, no matter what the outcome is. Whether you choose to prosecute or to press charges, if you go through the legal system, we will be there with you every step of the way. And our state attorney.
So are you providing legal assistance like Bay Area Legal?
We will partner with Bay Area Legal, but we have advocacy that works. Our advocates work right alongside with that victim to be that victim's voice, so they feel like that they have, once again, the control that was taken from them when they were raped. They get that control back, and that advocate is the one to make sure that they always have control of the situation.
Now, is there a counselor there when they come in?
So our advocate, and we have a nurse practitioner, so it's an advanced degree nurse practitioner, both of whom are specially trained to be able to provide this work. But you talked about counseling, and I've beaten the drum on this thing called trauma over and over again. Everything we've talked about today has been around this thing called trauma. So we have a trauma counseling program at the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay. We have 4 locations to try to serve the entire Hillsborough County: Brandon, West Tampa, South Tampa, and North Tampa. And during COVID, we had to pivot like everybody else did. So we've been providing teletherapy as well as in-person therapy. And we provided
these are all counselors that are available to the community.
Counselors who are available to the community to help people who have been victims, who have experienced trauma. Most of that trauma is some sort of crime, whether it's child abuse or maybe domestic violence, sexual assault, physical assault, but it's also any kind of trauma. Maybe you witnessed a car accident. Maybe you hit somebody. Ooh, that's incredibly traumatic when you hit and kill somebody. So we can provide that trauma counseling. It's short-term, evidence-based. It has a beginning, middle, and the end. The end is that opportunity to be able to relive what happened without having any negative adverse effects. And it is unbelievable to watch it happen, particularly in children. I love this story because it's so beautiful. We had a set of boys who had gone with their dad after dinner to the 7-Eleven to get some ice cream. That 7-Eleven was held up at gunpoint.
Oh, my gosh.
Nobody was hurt, but for those 2 little boys, it was the most traumatic thing they had ever seen. And their trauma started manifesting itself by them freaking out anytime they saw that 7-Eleven. Oh. And then it expanded to any convenience store, any gas station. These little boys would absolutely melt down. Dad brought them to the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay, and after 14 weeks of weekly treatment, weekly therapy, their graduation, because there's always a graduation, was that the boys went with their dad after dinner to the same 7-Eleven to buy ice cream, and were able to talk about everything that had happened without any adverse effects. That is the beauty of trauma counseling, and when it is done correctly, You really do. We can never take away what happened to you in that experience, but we can give you the tools so that you can move forward in your life.
Now, how are people finding these centers? You're getting referrals?
We're getting referrals from school districts. We're getting referrals from hospitals and doctors' offices, but we're also getting them through our favorite number, Angela.
211.
Absolutely.
So if
211.
someone calls in, you can tell them we have a counseling available to you.
Correct. And we can connect you right there to the counseling program so that you can get started with it.
That is wonderful. Now, what about children who are exhibiting problems in school? Can they call you? Can the parents call you?
Absolutely. We are very fortunate. We have 2 specialty programs just for those parents. We have a great partnership with the Children's Board of Hillsborough County. They help to fund a children's development information line, and we can do development questionnaires right over the phone with parents so that parents know, is my child developing how he or she should, or maybe that my child is behind. If my child is behind, we at the Crisis Center can connect you to resources and get you the specialists or the additional treatment and support that you need. For our teenagers and young adults, ages 16 to 25, we have a program called Healthy Transitions that is staffed by not 50-year-old Claras, but by youth their age that can connect and provide resources and supports. And during COVID, I will tell you, we are taking hundreds of calls from teens every single month who are experiencing homelessness, joblessness. They're experiencing depression and anxiety, so we're able to provide them with assistance and support as well.
We have a gun violence issue in this community.
Yes, ma'am.
They need people to talk to.
Yes,
I was
ma'am.
wondering if you have talked to some of the neighborhood associations, if you've been able to talk to them about your services.
No, ma'am, but I would love that opportunity. So if there's any of the community, associations out there that would be interested.
Jackson Heights is definitely one of them.
Please contact me directly at the Crisis Center. C. Reynolds at crisiscenter.com. My phone number is 813-969-4999. I am
Say
available.
that one time slow.
Sure. Clara Reynolds, C. Reynolds at crisiscenter.com. And my direct phone number, 813-969-4999. We would be honored to come and speak into those communities. And if
one more time for our engineer.
Sure. Sorry. I talk really fast. 813-969-4999. And I am more than happy to have myself or my staff that knows a heck of a lot more than me be able to come and provide whatever assistance and support is necessary for your community. We truly consider ourselves the social utility of Hillsborough County, and we would welcome the opportunities to hear what's happening in those communities and figure out if there's any way we can be of assistance.
Well, all the things you talked about. These children are experiencing trauma at home. They don't have food in the house. Sometimes they think a good way to get it is to steal it. Then that they're going to have a criminal record. We have a gang issue. So it's so much. And I think it does start with talking to these kids and getting them when they're young.
Right. And also their families. Kids live with families, and families live with kids. And, again, back to my other days, we can't work with one without working with the other. And so families need help and support. These kids need help and support. Communities need help and support. So I look forward to the Crisis Center being able to provide as much assistance as possible to those who are struggling. Because, again, our mission is to ensure that no one has to face crisis alone.
And if you are a victim of gun violence or there's a child in your home you think could go that way, picking up a gun is not a good idea. Retaliation is not a good idea. So hopefully by hearing from Clara today, you know that 211 is a number that you can call regardless of what kind of crisis you're in.
Regardless of what kind of crisis you're in.
I mean, there's so much. I mean, we still haven't gotten through the whole list yet, Clara?
Not yet. Goodness me, Angela. Who knew?
Who knew? All this is available free, right?
Free of charge. For our trauma services, we will work with you. If you don't have any ability to pay, we've got it covered. If you have insurance, we're going to bill it, just because anything that we can bring in, that means it's more that we can provide.
Do you need money down there?
Oh, we're a nonprofit organization. We always need money. I would encourage anybody to go to our website, crisiscenter.com. You can find out about all the things we're doing. We're actually doing a virtual 5K as a silly fundraiser to recognize that.
Well, I want to come to that.
Yeah, it's virtual. So,
it's
virtual. It's a virtual 5K, so you could walk, you could skip. I'm a swimmer, so I'm going to go swim a 5K this weekend around Harbor Island. But it's really whatever
Well,
inspires
I'm not going to join
you.
you in that, but that's
No,
all right.
really? No swimming for you, huh? Really?
I'm a native
Come
New
on.
Yorker. We don't swim.
Yeah.
That's true. But I grew up down there. All right, we're coming back, Clara. We're coming back.
I look forward to it.
By now, we're all aware of the dangers of COVID-19. Like others with existing health issues, cancer patients are at a high risk due to their compromised condition. If you are newly diagnosed with cancer, your care likely can't wait. Moffitt Cancer Center is the best place for your cancer concerns and to provide guidance to help you plan your next steps. We're here for you. Call 1-888-456-2839 or go to moffitt.org/here-for-you.
Hello, I'm Angela Birdsong. You are listening to Tampa Bay Politics. So glad you are. We're on In Touch News every Wednesday morning at 11 a.m. And today I am happily talking with Clara Reynolds. She is the CEO of the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay. So if you have ever called that 211 number, or if you're thinking about it right now, this is the lady who's in charge of all the people down there who are going to help you. By the way, who's on the phones?
So these are not volunteers. These are trained staff that have decided that this is something that they want to do. Again, they're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Many of them already have advanced degrees in some sort of social service field. Some of them are working towards it. So for some of them, it's an opportunity to see if this is the field that they really want to be in. Talk about an opportunity to really experience
What
people,
a great experience.
It's an amazing
for
experience.
social workers.
And so many of them take that experience and move on to their master's work and other places across our community. So it really is a fabulous opportunity for anyone who's interested. But again, we provide them almost a semester's worth of training before they're ever just released on the phone lines themselves, because
excellent.
There's no script. So what you're learning is a skill set called motivational interviewing to really be able to get people to the root of their problem. So, you don't know when that call comes in what somebody is going to need. And so there's a lot of training and support that's provided on those lines.
Now, there's another service you offer, an ambulance service.
We do. And if any of you in the city of Tampa have ever seen a large ambulance that says TransCare on that is part of the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay. It is our social enterprise. What does that mean? Think of it as our Girl Scout cookies. You know how the Girl Scouts sell cookies every year, and the proceeds from that go to support the mission of the Girl Scouts. Exact same way with TransCare.
It's a fundraiser for you, basically.
It's of sorts, yes. So it absolutely meets our mission, because there's no bigger crisis than when you call 911 in a medical emergency. We partner with Tampa Fire Rescue so that Tampa Fire Rescue can respond to those real significant medical emergencies, like a heart attack, like a stroke, like severe bleeding. But maybe you've been in a car accident. Maybe you have fallen. Maybe you have a baby with 104-degree fever, and that baby needs to get to the hospital. TransCare is going to be the one to provide that service.
I see.
And every day we provide between 70 and 80 transports to our local hospitals, our 4 main hospitals right here in Hillsborough County.
Now, when it comes to the city of Tampa, like the city council, do you have any interaction with them?
The city council has been a wonderful partner with us, particularly during COVID. Mayor Castor has been a fabulous champion of the Crisis Center, ever since she was police chief. And so when the One Tampa program came online, the city of Tampa partnered with us to be able to provide those resources. So we would receive those calls and that the information from residents in the city of Tampa, and we were the ones that were providing those rent and utility payments. So that is one of our biggest initiatives initiatives that we've had with the city of Tampa, but we work very closely with our county commission. Many of our resources, I think we could agree that if we weren't providing them, county would have to.
Right.
And so the county really sees us as a strong partner. So they partner with us on the phone lines. They partner with us for sexual assault services. And right now in COVID, they are partnering with us for COVID testing as well as COVID vaccines. We know that there are many of our residents that don't have cars, that don't have transportation to get to a site. So we have been partnering with the county and we go to them. So our TransCare staff provides mobile testing for COVID-19.
So are you sending the ambulances?
We actually do. We will send the ambulance out. We have one ambulance that is dedicated just for COVID-19, and we provided over 17,000 COVID tests here in Hillsborough County.
Really?
We did. And since last week, we have been providing mobile vaccines for our elderly family members, our frail individuals in our assisted living facilities. We're the ones that are now going and vaccinating those individuals because we know that it is an absolute crisis for those individuals and their families if they can't get their loved ones the help and support that they need.
So if someone is over 65 and they don't drive, they can call 211?
They can call the county for an appointment, indicate that they need a mobile option, and the county will send us out.
I see. So you just set up your appointment the way you usually
do.
Hope you can.
And it's good. It's getting better. It's all getting better. We got the new federal center not too far away at the dog track. So
yes, FEMA came in with a big site.
Big site.
They're hoping to do 3,000 daily.
I know, that's
right in
amazing.
Sulphur Springs. Some people can walk there.
I saw that yesterday. It was people were walking in and. It's a very exciting time right now, Angela. It's very, very exciting.
Just want to know that Clara and I have been vaccinated.
Yes.
Because I went through a black church because we want as many African Americans vaccinated as possible.
And it is so incredibly important. And as a first responder, our organization is considered a first responder. So that was the reason why we were all vaccinated.
Okay.
And it is so incredibly important. And please, if you have any questions about shots, if you're not sure, please talk to your medical professional. It is so incredibly important for every one of us to be vaccinated if at all possible.
And it didn't hurt a bit. And it's not going to change your DNA.
No, it will.
It's pretty amazing what's on Facebook. But vaccines have been helping us throughout time. My mother's 95. She remembers when people had things like polio, tuberculosis. We don't suffer with those things anymore because of vaccines. So please, if you know of someone you love, convince them to go and get it. And certainly you go ahead and get it when it's your turn.
Absolutely.
Now, is there anything I didn't cover?
So the only other thing is if you would like to learn more about the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay, I mentioned before, you can go to our website, crisiscenter.com, but you could also come and take a tour. So if you'd like to come and see what we do, we can walk you through the entire facility. You can see our call center. You can see where sexual assault exams happen. You can see what it looks like in the back of an ambulance if you've never seen that before. And you can see our trauma counseling and how we do that and learn more about the amazing resources that the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay offers to everybody in our community. Angela, you said it best. Crisis doesn't matter who you are or where you live. It can happen to all of us. And last year, over 170,000 people reached out for some sort of help and support at the Crisis.
170,000.
170,000, and there are still so many of our friends and neighbors in this community who don't know the Crisis Center is here. So if nothing else, Angela, what's our number?
211. So you know what? I want to invite all the pastors out there who might be listening. If you are a group counselor of any kind, please come and take the tour.
Come and take the tour. Learn more about what we do. Get some 211 cards. You never know when you might need it. And, one of my another favorite story of mine, it was because this is one that's so powerful. A woman really distraught, was suicidal. She reached into her purse to grab some pills because she was going to overdose. And instead of grabbing the pills, she grabbed a 211 card she just happened to have in there. She called us and said, "This is what just saved my life."
Wow.
So you never know. It truly is a lifesaver to have those 211 cards. And
where can we get 211 cards?
We can get them to you. Again, if you call my office number, go to our website, we can provide you those cards free of charge. One of the things we've partnered with Chico is we've provided Hillsborough County Public Schools. Every kid in Hillsborough County Public Schools has been given a 211 card now for 3 years in a row.
Get those into the homes. Make them into magnets.
Exactly.
That's what I say.
Magnets, paper airplanes, whatever it takes. Just everybody, please remember 211. Available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Say your number one more time.
That's right, 211. Woohoo!
And what about, can they call you if they're a provider?
Sure,
of some kind?
Absolutely. Anybody can call 211 24 hours a day. We've had providers call us looking for resources. We've had child welfare workers. We've had juvenile justice workers call us. Department of Corrections. You're in a home and you want to provide help and support, and sometimes you just don't know where to start.
That's a very good idea.
Call 211. We can work through it together. I think that there's some sort of misconception that even if we're counselors or social workers or whatever, that we have to have all the answers. That's not what we're here. None of us can do anything by ourselves.
That's true.
It takes a village. It takes a family. It takes all of us to be able to serve our community. And so let 211 be your partner, for your pastors. And I'm so glad you brought that up. Our pastors, I'm sure, are seeing things that they've never had to experience before. And so utilize 211. Put that as a tool in your tool belt. If you don't know where else to send your parishioner, know that that is a service that's available, again, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And even for grief counseling.
Grief counseling. We can connect you to the amazing grief counseling programs in our community. And again, if you've been a victim of a crime, if you're struggling with trauma, you can come to the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay either in person or via telehealth, and we can get you that resource and support that you need.
And if you are a parishioner, invite your pastor to come on down.
Please, 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 please invite your pastor to come to us, to meet us, and invite us into your church. We would love the opportunity to be able to, again, spread this message of 211 and how important it is.
Yes, because with COVID happening, I know that the churches they've been trying to help with food. So they've got a lot on their plate right now.
They have. I can't even imagine all the needs that are being presented right now.
Yes.
And again, you and I have talked, even with the vaccine, as amazing as this physical vaccine is, it is not going to vaccinate against the behavioral health tsunami that is coming to our community, that's coming across our country. Every single one of us has been impacted in some way by COVID-19. Every single one of us across the globe.
It's a trickle-down effect.
Right, and we've never seen anything like this.
And many people have never been to a food bank before.
Absolutely. They've never had to reach out for help. And you know what? The hardest thing is actually saying, I need help, and it's okay that I need help, and I'm going to call 211 today.
What about child services? If you have parents who find themselves, oh my goodness, the children are home, I got to work. I mean, what can you help with child services?
Of course, and we have been partnering right now with the Hillsborough County and their Blue Ribbon Commission that was really designed to try to enhance the child abuse prevention programs. And so we do have a few child prevention campaigns in high targeted zip codes where a lot of children are removed for child welfare. And again, it's pushing 211. Don't wait till you get so stressed out that you make a decision you would never make otherwise. Call 211. Take a breath. Call 211. And we have been working, again, in those communities trying to get the message out.
Can you help them with daycare services?
We can, again, connect them to child care services. We can connect them to all of those resources. Wonderful. There's so many resources out there. And sometimes, again, we're trying to Google stuff and it becomes so overwhelming. So, you don't have to go this alone. It's amazing. We don't do anything else by ourselves. My director out there, Ken, was telling me this, and he's absolutely right. When it comes to everything else, we don't try to do it by ourselves. We don't even try to host a picnic by ourselves. And yet, when it comes to behavioral health, we think we have to do this all on our own, and we absolutely don't. Help is available, and it is okay not to be okay. What's not okay is not asking for help when you need it. Ask for help. 211.
Wonderful. Boy, this has been so informative. We're down to 2 minutes, so we got to pack whatever else you got in there. Let's see. We did pretty good, though.
We did pretty good. I was worried that we'd run out of time, so
I think we did very
so,
good.
in thinking about what's upcoming in our community that we can just touch on really quickly, and I just want to make everybody aware, we know that standardized testing will be happening in Hillsborough County Public Schools. We know that there are a lot of families that are nervous about that, particularly for those families who have been in-home and providing that in-home, that they're going to now have to send their kids to school for standardized testing. Please know it's going to cause a lot of stress. It's going to cause a lot of anxiety. Again, if your child, if yourself are feeling those feelings, you don't have to go through that alone. You can call 211. There are a lot of resources.
Do you have tutors?
We have availability through, again, the school district. Sometimes you don't even realize all the services the school district has to offer.
That is true.
And so sometimes you're just so overwhelmed, again, with the symptom of the day. We will let you talk about whatever's going on and then connect you to resources, many of which are going to be in your child's own school. So please,
I didn't realize it. My son went to private school, but he was able to take speech therapy through public school.
Yes, and there's so many amazing resources. Hillsborough County Public School has been partnering with so many community agencies to provide that assistance and support. And so please, again, at the end of the day, what's our number, Angela?
211. Thank you, Clara.
Thank you, Angela, so much for the opportunity to be here today.
Yes, and thank you for helping our community.
Thank you very much.
We need you.
You too.